Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Today we have an interesting topic for a lot of the independent creators out there. So this one is simple. It's, can the independent creators of comics or RPGs take down the gatekeepers of Marvel, DC, and WOTC? So this one is a fun one, but before we get into it, let me introduce myself. Hello, I am Lewis Porter Jr. This is my channel where we talk about all things business related to comics and RPGs. And, you know, I've been noticing a lot of people lately talking about the big companies and the power they hold, and I really thought about it because I've been watching some of videos from Perch and thinking about the number of sales of books. So, you know, if you sell 25, 30,000 copies of a U.S. comic book, you're doing incredibly well. I mean, those are some numbers that some Marvel books are getting. Yeah, some of the higher end Marvel books are in the 50s, but, you know, if you're an independent and you sold that well, that would put you, I'd say it's somewhat equal footing. I mean, hey, even an independent selling 10,000 is pretty impressive. So the question becomes, at what point does indie become mainstream? You know, when do you stop being indie? I mean, look, we all know about Walking Dead and Invincible. I would say both of those are now mainstream books, even though they've ended, but they still are in the consciousness of America as being, you know, TV shows and a good animated series. I must admit, I'm kind of interested in actually reading the comic books, which I haven't read for Invincible because of the animated series. So kind of cool. I like that. I mean, they proved that you could do good independent books. And let's be honest, a black and white independent book about zombies. I mean, we're talking about a niche of a niche of a niche that has gone on to do very, very well. And with that money, you know, he's definitely gone on to do other things that I think are even better for him as a creative. And I think maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's the thing that's keeping a lot of the independents where they are. They're afraid that, oh, I won't get those big numbers, I will never be as big as this. And it's like, do you really need to be that big? Or do you need to be someone who regularly does good work that gets out there and you can build off of that? It seems to me the smarter long-term goal would be take one book, build it, take another book, build it, and just keep doing it each time. And maybe you have 3 or 4 books at the same time. Maybe you have 10 books out at the same time. But you generate enough money that you don't have to worry about, oh, where am I getting my next dollar from? Do I need to get into distribution this way? My online sales is the only way I'm going to make money. You make enough money that, for lack of a better term, you don't need the standard places to be focused on. You know, I've always thought that finding a way to get digital versions of stuff out where people can look at and get it relatively cheap and enjoy it and like what you're doing and get those people to convert to buying trades and supporting you is really the long-term goal. Because the cost is going to get you that. It's a cost issue. You know, when comic books cost $5 a piece, you can't get mothers of 3 to buy them. Single moms are not going to do that. So you've got to find some way to get kids whose moms would be just want to give them something to read. And, you know, my crazy idea is there a way to approach small little stores like Five Below? If you're not familiar with Five Below is a store they sell things that are $5 and less. And I've seen Marvel books there bagged in 3-pack for like $4 or $5. Is there a way to get an independent book in there? You know, if you could get a couple of independent books in there in the hands of some of these kids, you expand it. Because really what you want to do is get more people to read your product. That's what it always has been. That's what the focus will always be. So, and I mean, I say comics, but I mean for anything, you know, role-playing games included. At least in the role-playing game industry, the number's a little smaller, but the fan base is more rabid and used to spending more money on stuff. That's why I see a lot of Kickstarters do very, very well on products. You're like, why would that do so well? But it does because the fan base likes the idea of it, likes the support and that kind of thing. So I think now's the time that if you're an independent in this field, you should be focusing on attacking the gatekeepers where they're weak and get their target audience. And a lot of you are like, well, that's easy to say. Yeah, of course it's easy to say. But a lot of you aren't doing that. A lot of you are making the same mistakes you've made for years. You're making the same kind of books that Marvel's making. You're not thinking about the long term. You're not planning the long term. You're not planning what transitional books will be. Hell, you haven't thought about like what books you can get to get people to try you out. I mean, what's the first book that people can try you out for free and get hooked on you and be like, oh yeah, I really like this. All right, so let me tell you how it happened to me. I was reading in Barnes & Noble the trade paperback for the comic book series Negation from CrossGen. And it had already been at like issue number 9 or 10 at this point. And in the first 6 issues, and I was like, oh, what's this? I've seen CrossGen, I'd seen the name. I was like, oh, let me just read it. Boom, read 1 through 6, loved it. Loved it. I'm like, all right, yep, I'm going to support this book. Supported the book after that, and I've been a huge fan since since that moment I saw it. And it's amazing that if I hadn't been at Borders, if I hadn't read it for free, I never would have probably picked it up. What was the gateway drug to get me interested in that? A free trade that I could read at Borders. I then went and bought the trade. I bought the trade later. It's in my... Well, actually, it's over there. It's in the shelf somewhere here. I bought everything that's been involved with Negation. Like I said, I loved it. So I really supported it. And I think that's what you have to do. You got to find some way to get people to get it for free. Figure out a way, and then find a way to monetize them in a different way. Some people are about you can only monetize them in one way. I don't believe that. I think people can be monetized several different ways, but you've got to work at monetizing them. You got to find out what works best for you and for them. Because as a fan base, you want them to get it, love it, like it, and tell people about it. That's it. If you do a good comic book that people talk about, you're good to go. And let's be honest, Marvel and DC have the long history, and even WOTC has a long history of stuff where they don't do a lot of that work up front. But you, as a new guy, can hit them in places they wouldn't go because they're too big of a conglomeration. Or even better, you can focus on a wedge point that makes it perfect for you to push them in a direction that maybe they didn't think about. Or even better, get that fan base that was always on the fence of, oh, I like them, but I don't like them. You can get that fan base. Why not focus on that fan base? Because they've already built a huge fan base. Let's be honest. They've built millions and millions of fans. Even, WOTC has millions of fans playing D&D. Well, find some way to get in their niche and get some of those people to come to you. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get the same numbers as WOTC or as DC or as Marvel, but you need to focus on taking some of their fan base, because some of their fan base is looking for something new. They want something new. They desire something new, and you could be that new thing. But you've got to focus on getting your product out in their hands and getting them into loving it. That's just basically it. That's all I'm going to say about that. So thank you so much for watching this video. Do yourself a favor. If you like what I said, leave a comment below. We really appreciate that. And if you don't, hey, leave a comment below. We really appreciate that. I mean, I like when people love me and hate me at the same time. It's kind of nice. So what can I say? As always, thank you so much for... As always, thanks for your support, and I'll talk to you all later. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. If you could do us a super huge favor and click on that like button for this video, or even better, subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. As always, thanks for your support.